Clutches, a moment when the game is frozen for all but one player. With no team left alive, every decision made to turn the impossible into possible falls onto the last man standing. A single round that can flip a series, bring together a nation, become ingrained into history, or even turn a player into a legend. Or maybe you just clutched a 1v3 in your promotion match to 10k, and now you can go to bed feeling a little bit better about yourself. Either way, clutches are pretty cool. That's why, in today's video, we will be exploring the greatest clutches from each year of Counter-Strike, more specifically CSGO and CS2. So apologies if you wanted me to discuss Jesus Christ's memorable clutch when he won the round after dying back in Counter-Strike 1.6. Real quick, let me clarify how I went into choosing each year's clutch so there's no confusion as to why certain iconic clutches are excluded. First, context matters. Simple 1v5ing paraplegic children at a charity match may be mechanically impressive, but meaningless compared to a 1v2 clutch on map point of a major grand final. Next, it's hard to justify that a clutch was impactful if the team ended up losing the game, so the clutching team does need to win the game, and preferably the series, for the play to be included. Finally, remember, this is one clutch from every year, so if you disagree with the year's selection, I don't know, just leave a hate comment or something, at least I'll get some engagement. Oh, and we're starting in 2013. I know CSGO came out in 2012, but it was August, so I didn't have much time to work with for the year. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Wait 1 second, I'm getting a call. Hello? Sorry, I didn't get any of that. Do you have the wrong number?
Oh, my bad. I speak English.
That's right. China's massive marketplace Buff163 now has an official international sister site, Buff Market. It's like getting rejected then finding out the girl has a twin. You know what else is massive? Buff Market's inventory, with certain skins having even more supply than Buff163. With only a 2.5% seller fee and instant sales balance reuse, you can get rid of your lame old inventory and upgrade to skins that will finally make people like you. And don't worry about waiting for that 7-day trade lock, because Buff Market's peer-to-peer trading allows for instant and secure skin delivery. Have friends? I really hope you do. No, seriously. Well, use them for your own benefit, earning 20% of all referred users' trading fees, along with a bonus chance to win up to $200 for each referral. Make sure to check out Buff Market today with the link in the description or pinned comment below. Now back to the video.
Also, please like and subscribe so I can quit my real job. Thank you.
What do you think of when you hear NIP? No, not the National Intelligence Program, which funds federal agencies in the US. I'm talking about ninjas in pajamas. When it comes to their current professional Counter-Strike team, most of you probably think washed, disorganized, mid, and some newer players might not even know of them at all. But if you asked the same question 13 years ago, people would call them the GOATs, would talk about their legendary players, Forrest, Friedberg, and Get Right. Oh, and they'd also mention how NIP went 87-0. You heard that right. NIP were like Team Vitality in the modern day, but if you put Team Vitality in the African pro scene. From August of 2012 to April of 2013, NIP won 10 LAN tournaments in a row while not dropping a single map for 87 games, which is still the longest undefeated stretch in professional Counter-Strike history. The reason for this was quite simple. While many other professional players and teams were still competing and focusing on 1.6, NIP decided to go all in on CSGO from day one. This gave NIP a massive advantage as their competitors were simply less experienced with playing this completely new game. It's like if a Jack 30-year-old with a Ferrari pulls up to a college party and starts hitting on all the 18-year-old freshman girls. Unfortunately, the frat guys just can't compete with that for now. But soon, teams began getting more experienced in CSGO, and on April 5th of 2013, at Starladder Series 5, VP finally put an end to NIP's undefeated run, handing them their first second-place LAN finish in a year and a half. Besides ending their streak though, this loss really did nothing to hinder NIP's dominance, as they still were on the top of the CS scene until late 2014. Now, what did almost ruin NIP's reign was their match against Publicler.se? Wow, they really let anyone have a team back in the day. At DreamHack summer of 2013. The winner of this match would advance to DreamHack's playoffs, while the losing team would be eliminated. And down 15-11 on Dust 2, with the tournament on the line, the best team in the world was about to be embarrassed by a team with a domain extension in their name. With Friedberg and Xiszt stuck in a 2v5 post plant and no hope of killing all 5 enemies with enough time to defuse, NIP finally seemed vulnerable. But who said you needed to kill all 5 enemies to win the round?
Gusek, KI kommt und die sitzt. Zweite kommt auch noch. Friedberg, wird Gus gesehen, fällt, Xiszt. Und jetzt Defuse in der Smoke. Kann er durchdrücken. Defuse kommt, will's nicht. Und dann Defuse durch. Das gibt's doch gar nicht.
In a round that should have sealed the win and playoffs for I'm not even going to bother with their name again, with seconds left on the bomb and 3 terrorists still up, using Friedberg's smoke, Xiszt was able to pull off one of the most iconic ninja defuses of all time to keep NIP's hopes alive. And off that round, NIP were able to muster a comeback, tying the game 15-15 and ultimately winning the match 22-20 in double overtime. An elimination here would have been NIP's worst LAN finish since the team was created, and would have made the seemingly invincible roster seem vincible. I don't even know if that's a word. Oh, it is. But instead, NIP went on to not only make playoffs, but win the entire tournament, forming what is now seen as the greatest prime any team has experienced in esports history. Picture this, it's the second map of a best-of-3 semifinals at Cologne 2014, and Fnatic just lost the second half pistol and are down 12-4 against Team Dignitas. While Fnatic did have a 1-0 lead in the series, they were getting absolutely rolled on their own map pick Overpass by a team who had just stated they didn't even like the map and had not practiced it. And based on betting odds and community sentiment, Dignitas were the slight favorites to win the series and head to the Cologne finals. So Fnatic entering map 3 against them after a brutal defeat would have been a tough mental battle for the Swedish side to overcome. And after winning round after round, Fnatic and Team Dignitas found themselves tied 14-14. In a must-win round for both teams, Dignitas ran a B-side execute, got bombed down, and found themselves in an unfavorable but winnable 3v5 post-plant. Given this information and the incredibly high stakes at hand, how would most of you expect this round to end? Maybe Dignitas played their positions and prevented Fnatic from defusing despite their disadvantage, or Fnatic eliminated all of Dignitas and just got the defuse off. You know, or both teams could have just agreed to stop fighting in unnecessary wars and kissed it out on stage. Nah, Olofmeister decided he's just gonna dog through an entire Molotov and stick the most unnecessarily risky defuse of all time.
Device around the world we go, but the defuse is coming in. He's still going. Oh, Olof just about gets it as the flames come in, and look at the little dance of happiness.
After dropping to a 2v4, Device Molotov bombed from short and Olaf jumped straight into defusing. With 20 seconds still on the clock, most sane players would have gotten off defusing until the molly faded, but I guess that bomb must have been grippier than Prime Eva Elfie, shout out Pixel, because Olofmeister stuck to holding E. Had Olaf gone out of the molly and just fought, it would have been a 4v1 against Device, which would have been an almost guaranteed round for Fnatic. But in choosing to stick to defuse, Olaf made an insane gamble, have one of the most embarrassing deaths in pro Counter-Strike, and risk the rest of your team choking the round and potentially the game, or aura farm in one of the most high-pressure moments of your career. And with mere milliseconds separating a legacy-defining play, from Olaf being known as the precursor to Summit 1G, Olaf's gamble paid off, securing Fnatic the round immediately before succumbing to the flames. Olaf's bold decision gave Fnatic the final push they needed to complete their comeback and close out Overpass 16-14 in the following round, which advanced them to the finals of Cologne 2014. This play was so legendary that Valve even cemented it onto the B-side of Overpass with a graffiti depicting Olaf defusing in a sea of flames, and along with the iconic Olaf Pass match that occurred only a couple months later, no one player is more closely associated with a single map than Olofmeister is to Overpass. 2015 was a weird year for clutches, as there really wasn't a single play that defined the year. Yeah, there were some iconic clutches like Hiko's Tech9 1v5 and Reign's 1v5 against Envious, but both Liquid and G2 went on to lose those maps, so I can't count them for this video. But after some research, yeah, I do that here, I was left with two oddly similar clutches to choose from. Both clutches took place on the T side of Dust 2 in a best-of-3 series at an S-tier tournament, but what I found incredibly strange was they both occurred on round 22, where the clutching team was down 7-14. The two clutches I am talking about are Edward vs Team Liquid at IEM San Jose 2015, and Crims vs Envious at ESL 1 Cologne 2015. Why am I introducing two clutches for this year, you might be asking? I'm asking the same question actually. I thought it was a fun coincidence, but I'm only discussing Edward's clutch, I just think it's better. At the semifinals of IEM San Jose, Na'Vi comfortably took the first map against Liquid, however, map 2 was looking more like a domestic violence case, with Na'Vi down 7-14 on their own map pick of Dust 2. Anyone watching at this point would have assumed Liquid was going to be taking the series to map 3, as Liquid had just won the last 3 rounds, leaving Na'Vi to rely only on an armored pistol buy to prevent Liquid from reaching match point. This would be like relying on 5 elementary schoolers with Nerf guns to perform a raid on the Sinaloa cartel. As if this wasn't bad enough for Na'Vi, Team Liquid also had the complete support of 9,000 plus home fans cheering for NA's last hope in the tournament. And to no one's surprise, the round went exactly as expected, as a failed catwalk execute left only Edward up against 4 Team Liquid players. Wait, why isn't the clip over yet?
Edward is your last man standing. Quiet here. Bomb is going to go down.
Oh, could make something of this, you know, as all 3 players are waiting for him. He's going to push through. How is this going to go down?
This is insane. Edward, he gets 1, he gets 2. It's down to a 1v1 here. That molly goes out, the trend's on it. Oh, and Edward goes wild.
After picking up a rifle, Edward won his duel against Counter-Strike's favorite bald man, then safely managed to plant bomb and smoke Cat. And with the 3 musketeers deciding to all approach site from Cat, instead of, fighting from multiple angles, Edward's massive testicles led him to flash and push smoke, resulting in a 1v1 situation with bomb planted in his favor. The rest of the clutch was pretty easy, as Edward just sprayed a helpless Adren who thought a smoke also made him bulletproof. Team Liquid called a tactical timeout after losing one of the most unlosable rounds imaginable, but their mental state was already worse than that of an average blue-haired, slightly overweight lesbian, allowing Na'Vi to win the next 8 rounds in a row and defeat Liquid 16-14. This advanced Na'Vi to the grand finals of IEM San Jose, where they eventually defeated TSM 2-0 to take home the trophy. Edward single-handedly won Na'Vi this map, as Na'Vi gambled the entire game on this pistol buy. Had they knock on bomb down and lost this round, Na'Vi would have been in more financial ruin than a liberal arts major who went 200k in debt for their degree, as the next buy would consist of 5 decoy grenades and maybe a single P250 if they could pool their funds together. But by not only winning this round, but getting bomb down, Edward fueled Na'Vi's miraculous comeback, allowing them to advance to the finals and ultimately win the tournament. 2016 was without a doubt the best year for Counter-Strike clutches. I could have made an entire video about this year, from Simple's noscope Awp clutch, to Snacks in the Big Apple, to Neo 1v5ing to send VP to the finals. But one clutch reigns above all of these iconic clips. Yes, even Simple's double noscope. Well, in my opinion at least. Look, before you're mean to me, just know it's hard to only pick one clutch for every year, okay? 2016 MLG Columbus, Ohio, the first ever major held on American soil, and in the semi-finals the world saw a battle between a top and bottom. No, I don't mean a twink fighting a bear at a gay club, I mean the top and bottom of America. Team Liquid represented the home soil of North America and were facing the South Americans Team Luminosity, who were the slight favorites with their dominant run of form in the group stages and previous second place finish at FaZe League 2015 Stage 3 finals. But despite all metrics pointing towards Luminosity being the favorites, Liquid had the power of friendship behind them, and after 24 rounds of Mirage, Team Liquid found themselves in a very comfortable position to secure the first map and carry momentum into advancing to the major finals. Liquid advancing would be NA's first ever major finals appearance, which would be taking place at the region's first ever major. Imagine the scenes of Liquid advancing to the finals, let alone winning them. There's a big reason I said imagine. On the 25th round, with 5 men up on both teams, Liquid decided to advance onto B site, which was being held by Taco and Coldzera. With the game on the line, positioned on van, and holding apartments with his Awp, Coldzera realized this was an MLG sponsored event and hit one of the most iconic Awp clips of all time.
Here he comes once again. The first base is Adren. He's going to hit the ground there as Cold. Oh, what? A jumping double from Cold! What is going on right now? How does he do this? Cold has saved Luminosity.
Not only was getting a 4K holding down sight on match point incredibly clutch, but the way in which he hit a jumping collateral noscope followed by another noscope is what cements this as one of Counter-Strike's greatest plays. Now if I was Coldzera, the only thing I would be thinking after this would be, Taco, why'd you steal my ace? But seriously, this play from Coldzera was massively influential. After this round, Luminosity were able to come back and take the game into overtime, where they then defeated Liquid 19-15, followed by a 19-16 win on Cash to advance to the finals. Had Coldzera missed his shots and cost Luminosity the round, Team Liquid would have taken map 1 and had positive morale going into maps 2 and 3. But losing a round in such fashion undoubtedly affected Liquid's mental, as seen by their inability to close Mirage. And with both map 1 and 2 being extremely close overtime finishes, even the slightest mental gap between the teams could have been the difference maker. But the impact doesn't end there, as Luminosity not only made the major finals, but won it all, sweeping Na'Vi 2-0. Coldzera's Awp play was more than just a legendary clip. It led to South America's first major win, which ultimately made people take the region a lot more seriously. Today, 3 South American teams rank in HLTV's top 20, while NA's only top 20 ranking is in global obesity rate. Maybe it's a stretch to say, but who knows if South American Counter-Strike would have made it this far without Luminosity's historic 2016 major run. Before Astralis went on to define an entire era of CSGO with 4 major wins, 3 of them being back-to-back, there was a time when they were better known as Choke Astralis. I used to be known as Choke Root back in the day, but for far different reasons, if you know what I'm saying. Prior to Astralis' creation in 2016, 5 players, Zipnix, Dupree, Karrigan, Device, and KRB were all part of TSM. Despite consistently being ranked as either the best or second best team in the world, TSM did not make a single deep major run at any of the 3 majors they attended in 2015. Then in late 2015 and early 2016, TSM's players parted ways with their org and decided to form a new one, Astralis. But unfortunately, their transition was not as successful as that of the average Thai prostitute, because their results at majors did not change. In 2016, Astralis were eliminated from both of their majors, with only a semi-finals appearance and first-round playoffs appearance to show. After 5 majors without reaching the finals once, many people began labeling Astralis as the biggest chokers in the scene.
It is thought that they had never fully showed up at a major. They were knocked out in the quarterfinals of DreamHack, Closure, and Poca, as well as being knocked out in the semis of Cologne 2015 when they were at their peak. Maybe majors just aren't Astralis' thing.
So following all this backlash, Astralis benched their extremely mediocre IGL, who would go on to do absolutely nothing with his very short Counter-Strike career, Karrigan, and bring on a new IGL, Glaive. With their new roster that really was just the exact same roster, except one Danish guy was swapped for a different one, Astralis entered the E-League Atlanta 2017 Major ranked world #1. But despite their dominant run of form leading up to the Major, many people still doubted Astralis, believing they would just choke like they always have before. However, this time things were different, and Astralis overcame their biggest obstacle and made it past the semi-finals where they had fallen short twice before. But making the finals isn't the same as winning them, and against VP, who had dropped one map the entire Major, proving to the entire world that Astralis could in fact win a Major was not going to be easy. After losing map 1 on Nuke 12-16, Astralis were one loss away from letting their hopes of a Major trophy once again get away from them. And on map 2, Overpass, Astralis and VP were trading rounds left and right, with Astralis barely holding on to their lead at 10-9. With Xyp9x left in a 1v3 situation, it seemed inevitable that VP were going to tie up the game and eventually take control. But yeah, this is the best clutches in CS history you're watching, so you already know what's gonna happen.
It's on Xyp9x now. Oh, Kennedy's gonna catch the bomb. This is unreal! The timing!
Aiming down. Pasha's moving up on the other side of him, and Xyp9x gonna be turning his back and down to 1 health. Bialy with the patience play coming out. Flashbang is in there now. 25 seconds. Headshot coming in from Xyp9x. This is not easy. Bialy way out in the open. He gets shot down. Xyp9x with the 1-on-3 clutch. Oh my god!
After finding a kill on Neo carrying the bomb, Xyp9x found an opening to potentially win the round, but shortly after, all hope seemed to be lost after a duel with Bialy left him with 1 HP. With enough health left to die from being coughed on too hard, Xyp9x miraculously proceeded to get both kills on Pasha and Bialy to keep the match in Astralis' favor. It is inarguable that Xyp9x winning this round fundamentally won Astralis this match, as Overpass ended 16-14 Astralis, taking the finals to Game 3. And oh boy, this Game 3 could have been a video on its own. To make it brief, Astralis went down 13-7 on Train and were forced into a Tech 9 eco for round 21.
It would require nothing short of a miracle for Astralis to bring this game back.
It really seemed that despite their valiant effort, Astralis were not going to win this Major, but with the power of God and anime on their side, Astralis managed to win 9 out of the next 10 rounds to win the map 16-14 and secure their first ever Major. This was genuinely one of the greatest Major finals of all time, with every game being incredibly close, and map 3 having a crazy storyline. Had Xyp9x just taken 1 extra health of damage, Astralis may have never freed themselves of being labeled as Counter-Strike's biggest chokers, and losing their 6th Major may have led to roster changes that would have ultimately never allowed Astralis to reach their peak and conquer competitive Counter-Strike in the future. When you hear North American Counter-Strike, what do you think of? Whoa, okay guys, no need for all those negative thoughts. We're not that bad, are we? Damn! Despite NACS never being seen as the pinnacle of professional Counter-Strike, back in the early years of CSGO, North America was the second best region in the scene, mainly due to the fact that only 2 regions were really playing the game. Then, South America came along, and by the mid-2010s, it was clear that the only other region that could even compete with Europe was the Americas. South America, to be exact. With NA falling behind to the 3rd best region, and with the only region behind them, Asia, still barely learning the difference between an M4A1S and M4A4, any previous hope of NA winning a major title now seemed long gone. Or was it? Enter the E-League Boston Major in January of 2018. The last major held on American soil was E-League Atlanta 2017, where not a single NA team even made playoffs, and the major before that was the infamous 2016 MLG Columbus, where NA were on the receiving end of a historical clutch that saw their embarrassing exit. With precedent showing massive disappointment for NA fans at home, there really wasn't too much hope of anything changing. After all, NA's greatest hope was the 6th ranked team, Cloud9, who had recently replaced 2 of their longest standing members, Shroud and Nothing. And with competition consisting of Prime SK Gaming, a newly assembled FaZe super team, and Astralis with 4 out of the 5 members that would go on to terrorize CS only a few months later, a major trophy did not only seem improbable, but impossible. However, Cloud9 would go on to have a comfortable 3-0 start in Stage 1 of Swiss stages, instilling some hope of contending for the major title into the home fans. Maybe this was finally NA's year. Maybe Cloud9 were the team that were meant to put an end to NA's misery at major events. And they're 0-2 in the 2nd stage. With every match from this point now being an elimination match, Cloud9 needed to win their next 3 matches to even make playoffs. Oh, well, that's surprising. Cloud9 clawed back from the jaws of defeat, being the last team that would eliminate Astralis from a major for an entire year along their way to playoffs. Round 1 of playoffs started against G2, a team that had just beaten Cloud9 earlier in group stages, and Cloud9 took that personally, with a 32-15 scoreline across their 2-game sweep. But in the semifinals, Cloud9 found themselves against SK Gaming, a South American super team consisting of Coldzera, Fur, and Fallen, who happened to be the first, third, and sixth best players in the world the year prior. And to make matters worse, SK were the team that had previously defeated NA in the region's only appearance at a major grand finals. But statistics don't matter in the land of freedom, baby, as Cloud9 took NA to its second ever major final in a 2-1 series victory. Though it seemed like Cloud9 had just gotten past their hardest opponents, in the grand finals awaited something even scarier: FaZe Clan. With a roster consisting of Prime Niko, Rain, and Guardian alongside 2 veterans of the game, Karrigan and Olofmeister, Cloud9 were the heavy underdogs once again, but on a much larger stage. The series began with FaZe taking a close match 1, but Cloud9 came back taking match 2 on FaZe's map Overpass. With the series now being tied 1-1, all of NA's major hopes came down to one final map: Inferno. After a close 8-7 half in favor of FaZe, the game started to slowly slip away from Cloud9's grasp, 12-8. To 14-9, and soon Cloud9 found themselves down 15-11, with FaZe's next round win being a major trophy. But while FaZe had inarguably the better team, they didn't have one key thing that Cloud9 did: having to pay for healthcare. 15-12, 15-13, and before anyone knew it, Cloud9 found themselves one round away from taking the match into overtime. With round 30 underway, FaZe began executing A site, only to quickly run towards B with 20 seconds left on the clock. Op in hand, the weight of an entire nation rested on Stewie2K to prevent FaZe from getting the bomb planted. And boy, did he deliver. Unlike the skins he borrowed. Yeah, he gambled those away and never gave them back.
Stewie's on his own, but look at the time! Look at the time, there's 7 seconds, they've got the bomb! They're trying to build pyramids, but there's no more play! Stewie's won the round, we're going to overtime!
Stewie2K proceeded to hit 3 clutch op shots to prevent FaZe from planting the bomb, taking Cloud9 into overtime of map 3, which erupted the home stadium. The match would go on to stay incredibly close, with Cloud9 barely edging out the series in double overtime, securing a 21-19 victory along with NA's first and only major trophy. Not only did Cloud9 complete one of the greatest Cinderella runs in esports history, but they did so on home soil during an incredibly close grand finale, all topped off with an iconic play that truly elevated the moment to another level. Cloud9 lifting up the Boston 2018 major trophy is undoubtedly NA's greatest achievement in esports and is often referenced when discussing the greatest esports underdog stories. While one could argue that had Stewie2K died, the round would have still been a 4v4, meaning it wasn't completely over. But just look at this chart showing how difficult retaking B-side on Inferno is. And this doesn't mention that Automatic actually died mid-clutch, meaning had Stewie2K folded under pressure and missed his first op shot, Cloud9 would have been in a 3v4 retake on one of Counter-Strike's hardest sites to retake. Sometimes the greatest clutches aren't a 1v5, but just a 1v1, especially when the 1v1 is on the deciding map of a major semi-final with the game tied 13-13. Oh, and did I mention your opponent is none other than Prime Simple? Now how did we even get here? ENCE had no right making it this far into the major to begin with. Ranked world number 9 and having started off the group stages 0-2, no one saw a random Finnish team in the major grand finals just a week later. But unlike Anomaly on a diet plan, ENCE never gave up, winning their next 3 group stage matches to advance to playoffs, while knocking out the 5th ranked team in the world, FaZe, along the way. Now many thought that this is where their story would end, as ENCE found themselves facing off against the 2nd best team in the world, Team Liquid, in the first round of the playoffs, with a stacked roster consisting of some of the best players NA has ever seen, and fresh off a first place finish at iBuyPower Masters 2019, where they defeated the best team in the world, Astralis. Calling Liquid the favorites would be an understatement, which is exactly why ENCE swept the series 2-0. Wait, what? Defying all odds, ENCE had somehow made it to the semifinals of the major, and it's not like they got lucky matchups to get here. They were genuinely just playing better Counter-Strike than anyone else. But facing off against the 3rd best team in the world, Na'Vi, led by Prime Simple, was surely going to stop ENCE's Cinderella run in its tracks, right? Map 1 saw ENCE narrowly make a comeback, closing out Train 16-14 after being down 10-14. But Map 2 was played on Na'Vi's pick, Dust 2. And I don't think I can show any footage from that match, as I don't think it's appropriate for YouTube. Na'Vi violated ENCE 16-3 on Dust, and going into the final map, Mirage, all signs pointed to things snapping back to reality, where Na'Vi would just win the series and a random team like ENCE would not be making a major grand final. Enter Map 3. Okay, 6-9 half. ENCE got double the amount of rounds they did all of last game just in the first half. Not too bad, but they're still down. Ooh, 6-12. Yeah, it's really looking like Na'Vi's gonna close this out. Now how the hell did this happen? Going into round 27, the score was tied 13-13, meaning this was now anyone's game. After holding down sight against Na'Vi's A split, ENCE left Simple in a 1v3 situation with only 11 seconds left on the clock. Despite all odds, ENCE seemed like they were about to be 2 rounds away from a miraculous grand finals appearance. Whoa, what's going on? Oh no, Simple managed to get 2 kills in the matter of 4 seconds, giving him enough time to plant the bomb, leaving the round up to a 1v1 against Xseven. But I already told you, this isn't Simple's clutch.
He's got the information. He's got just enough. He goes back to the AWP, but is that what's going to cost him? It is! It is going to cost him!
By no means was Xseven's clutch a spectacular play if we were to isolate it from its context, but this was arguably the most important round of not only his career, but ENCE's entire history, all while being in front of thousands of fans and against the greatest player in the world who had just turned a 1v3 into a 1v1. I don't think anyone watching this video could relate to how much pressure Xseven was under in that exact moment. Yet Xseven never misplayed. He just peeked Simple, who missed his op shot by mere pixels, and managed to secure the kill and round. And do you know what Xseven's reaction was to making the most important play of his career against the best player in the world? Yeah, he was ice cold. No reaction, just calmly chewing his gum. ENCE would go on to win Mirage just as they did Train, 16-14, completing one of the most improbable Cinderella runs in esports history and taking the organization to its first and only major Grand Finals appearance. But I'll just cut the story there. It's not really important what happened next. You know, sometimes it's better to just end things on a high note. We'll just move on. We're low on time anyway. Yeah, okay, let's just go. Godzilla vs. Kong. I know what you're all thinking. How does a movie about a giant lizard and gorilla have anything to do with Counter-Strike? Well, I'm actually not ready to explain that yet, so give me like a minute or two to set the scene, and we'll circle back to this. It was November of 2020, and despite being a consistent top-rated team, Vitality had not won a single tournament since December of 2019. So entering IEM Beijing Haidian 2020 Europe, I'm just going to call this IEM 2020 Europe because that title is way too long and way too hard to pronounce. Vitality had some pressure mounting to get a tournament win, and Vitality started off the tournament quite well, carrying their momentum to a Grand Finals appearance, which included eliminating the best team in the world at the time, Team Heroic. Vitality seemed like they were finally on track for their first tournament win in almost a year, but that would be easier said than done, as one man had other plans. See, I told you the setup earlier would make sense, because you know, Godzilla and Kong are titans, and Zywoo and Simple are, you know, like titans of the CS Pro scene. Okay, this analogy seemed a lot better in my head. I feel like if I talked about LeBron James and Michael Jordan, it would have made a lot more sense. But I kind of wrote this down already, so we'll just rock with it. IEM 2020 Europe was the first time Zywoo and Simple faced off against each other in a grand final, and it did not disappoint. The series started off with Simple showing Zywoo why he's the GOAT, carrying Navi to a commanding 2-0 map lead with an average HLTV rating of 2.06 across the first 2 games. And on the opposite end, Zywoo averaged a 0.95 rating, and Vitality were 1 map away from their 5th second place finish of the year. That was until Zywoo and Vitality remembered they were actually good at Counter-Strike. Vitality managed to take the series to Game 5 after destroying Navi on Overpass 16-6, followed by a 16-9 win on Inferno. But the job wasn't over, and in order to complete their reverse sweep, Vitality would need to take home Mirage. Pistol round starts with Vitality taking A site and securing a bomb plant, but at the cost of losing 3 players. With only Zywoo and Apex left alive, getting the plant money seemed like the best that they were going to do. And with Electronic flanking behind, the round was surely over.
Electronic looking for the cleanest finish.
Okay, Electronic, you might want to get checked for Parkinson's, but it's okay. You got Zywoo down to 9 HP, and he's now left alone against 4. It's not going to be okay, is it?
Health, really, but he's still hitting shots. He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my god, Zywoo! Unbelievable!
I think the best way to put everyone's reaction to seeing this clutch for the first time is what the caster Sponge said.
Every single Oh my lord, I am close to climax.
After Simple's death to Zywoo, the rest of Navi proceeded to roleplay the little bubbles and aim labs, lining up for Zywoo, who got 3 crisp-ass kills. When even a light breeze was enough to take him out, Zywoo managed to clutch the pistol round for Vitality, giving his team an advantage in not only the game state, but mental state. Navi did call a timeout to try to reset themselves, but that pistol round dictated everything, as Vitality snowballed off their first round win, taking a 6-0 lead in the early game and closing out Mirage 16-8. After nearly a year of defeat, Vitality managed to win their first tournament, while also proving that Simple's long-standing title as the sole GOAT of the game would soon need to be shared by a slightly overweight Frenchman named Zywoo. I'm not even going to attempt to build any tension here like I did for everything else. This one's just here for pure aura. Yeah, it's the Grand Finals of ESL Pro League Season 13, and this is map 5 of this series that is tied 2-2, but just look at the score. Now, Heroic did find themselves having to eco in round 22, so while a 15-7 was almost guaranteed, and a 15-8 was also likely if Heroic wanted to put the game to bed with a full buy on the next round, unless Gambit sent zip bombs to Heroic species, Heroic was not really under any pressure to throw this match. So, seeing an armorless Karrigan equipped with only a P250 facing 4 full ball Gambit players, the casters began engaging in some tomfoolery, giving step-by-step analysis on how Karrigan would actually be winning this round and how it would go down in history.
He actually won it with just that P250. Yeah, I can't believe
nobody was looking, and he managed to sneak his way all the way through the backlines here and shoot Shiro in the back of the head.
Right.
With no gun, no armor, no teammates, and no chance of winning, Karrigan had one thing that no one accounted for: massive balls.
Yeah. Oh my god, he's knifed him, and he's gotten away with the AWP. I'm starting to get nervous. There's no way, Karrigan, you can't win Pro League like this! You can't win Pro League like this! No way! Calling well above his years, clearing corners. Oh no! You're an animal!
I mean, come on, let me break down everything about this clutch that made it so unreal. It's match point on map 5 of a tournament grand final. Karrigan has no armor and a pistol while against 4 100 HP fully armored opponents with full equipment, and he doesn't even have bomb. Then, to start the clutch, Karrigan has a trigger discipline to not immediately shoot the AWPer, which allows him to get a knife kill while 4 dudes are out looking for him. Then he drops a 2 HP after getting his second kill, hits a double wallbang to kill the guy triple, accidentally opens his console mid-clutch, then has the perfect movement to get info on the last kill without taking any damage. And what's even crazier is he theoretically would have still won this round without a gun. The P250 he was holding at the start wasn't shot a single time. Imagine the scenes if he accidentally dropped his pistol earlier and managed to clutch the round with only a knife equipped. And to top it all off, the casting here was phenomenal. I mean, from jokingly predicting that Karrigan would clutch to the iconic line,
"You can't win Pro League like this!"
Machine's casting is really what made this clip so iconic. On January 3rd, 2022, FaZe signed Ropz from Mouse. Then, for 6 months out of 2022, FaZe went on to be the #1 ranked team in the world. But it wasn't always like this. See, from 2017 to 2018, FaZe were a good team, a really good team at that. They had long stretches of being ranked amongst the top 2 teams in the world, and despite not winning any majors, they still won countless tier 1 tournaments during this stretch. However, from 2019 to 2021, everything changed, as the team lost 2 key players, Karrigan and Guardian, undergoing constant roster changes to fill this void. But nothing could replace these two. No, not the former Cloud9 Pro, nothing as in no one. God damn it, no, not him either. In November of 2019, FaZe made it to the semifinals of IEM Beijing. Their next semifinals appearance at an S-tier tournament would not be until July of 2021, and this was only after they reacquired Karrigan earlier in the year. But during mid to late 2021, FaZe once again saw signs of life, as they climbed up in HLTV rankings and maintained a steady top 10 position. Being top 10 is cool and all, but Counter-Strike isn't a Watch Mojo video. FaZe needed to win something, and they still hadn't come close. Then, 1 month before IEM Katowice 2022, FaZe added Ropz to their roster. While Ropz's addition definitely made FaZe a better team than before, they still weren't far and away the best team. I mean, just look at this extremely accurate and information-based prediction on who would win Katowice 2022. Using metrics that state that a tournament-winning team needs to have at least 1 fat guy and a balanced ratio of good, normal, and bad hair, this Reddit user stated that despite FaZe meeting the fat guy requirement, they had 3 members with good hair, 1 with normal hair, and only 1 with bad hair, which made them contenders, but not the favorites to win. So with scientific data siding against FaZe, it seemed like it may have still been too early in their roster rebuild to show up on the big stage. This was until FaZe made it to the grand finals along with G2, who had been predicted to have 0 chance of winning due to having no fat guy and too much good hair. Maybe this wasn't the best metric of predicting professional Counter-Strike performance. I don't know. On map 1 of the finals, Inferno, FaZe wound up being down 7-15, with all 5 members of G2 legitimately needing to have a stroke on the stage for FaZe to have any hope of coming back. Guess you really never know what could happen. FaZe somehow won the next 7 rounds in a row to bring the game to a 14-15 match point round. But after G2 remembered they were professional Counter-Strike players and not baseball pitchers with how much they were throwing, they finally managed a successful A-site execute, with only Ropz left to defend against G2 members, while Karrigan proved why he's the fat one on the team as he slowly rotated over from B. FaZe's 7 round wins in a row now seemed meaningless, as G2 were about to win their last round and prevent an embarrassing choke. Or, yeah, you know how this goes by now.
But that's crumbling as well.
Ropz is in a huge amount of trouble. He's going to try and take matters into his own hands. Couldn't find the second shot fast enough, but Jax, he drops in. Oh, talk about an Estonian. Talk about a superstar. Talk about the elite.
The new member, the man only added to the team 1 month before, single-handedly kept FaZe in the match, holding down A-site all alone against 4. Ropz's clutch took the match into overtime, where FaZe just rode out their momentum, winning 19-15. Without Ropz's clutch, FaZe would have inarguably lost map 1, as Unk over there was not going to clutch a 1v4. Despite the series being a sweep, looking at how close the next two maps were, with map 2 lasting 58 rounds, every ounce of momentum mattered in this series. If G2 just closed out map 1, Katowice 2022 could have ended completely differently, as G2 would not have been playing the series knowing they choked a 15-7 lead. FaZe were crowned champions of the tournament, giving them their first tournament title in 2.5 years and starting a completely new era of FaZe. They would go on to win their first ever major only 3 months later and completely dominate the professional scene for the next year. Vitality entered the 2023 Paris Major with a lot on the line. The team struggled to make playoffs at their previous two majors, with their most recent appearance at IEM Rio 2022 ending in complete disaster, with them only winning a single group stage match while being the second best ranked team in the world. But that's not all, as Team Vitality also suffered from something far greater: being French. However, sometimes a man's greatest weakness can turn into his greatest strength. See, despite all of the struggles that come with being French, the 2023 Blast Major was being held in none other than Paris, France. This gave Vitality the advantage of a home crowd, but along with it came the pressure of potentially disappointing thousands of fans with another shocking group round exit. And as if there wasn't enough on the line, this was going to be the last CSGO major ever held, as the next major wouldn't take place until the release of CS2. But this was more than just Vitality's struggle. Being one of the greatest to ever play the game, with 0 majors to show for it, playing in an arena in his own hometown, this would be Zywoo's last chance to cement his legacy in the CSGO era with a major trophy. And on day 1 of group stages, Vitality found themselves facing a G2 led by Niko and Monesi on Nuke. By the last round of the first half, Vitality led 9-5 on a much more dominant CT side of Nuke. But on round 15, G2 comfortably took control of outside and were looking at a favorable 6-9 half on the much weaker T side, as they were in an unlosable position with bomb down on A and in a 4v1. Well, it's unlosable if your opponent was anyone other than Zywoo, that is.
That would certainly crush G2. He's down below. They have no idea. It is the final drop. Oh my god. JKS and Monesi on the other side. He's going to tap the bomb once. No kit, so this is going to be even more difficult. It's nearly a 2-for-1 shot. Oh my god. He's going to put up the smoke and try and tap it again. He's no clue where Monesi is. He just doesn't know. But now he does. He finds the shot, and it is a ridiculous world-class clutch coming in from Zywoo.
Every bit of this play from Zywoo was iconic. He's in a round that should not be possible to win, let alone with an AWP. He not only lands a perfect silent drop, takes 0 damage, almost gets a collat, gets a kill through smoke, but he does this against a top 5 team while G2 have a Molotov on standby and Zywoo is under a time crunch, because did I mention, he doesn't even have a kit. Vitality went on to barely win the game 16-13, so had this round been won by G2, there's a high likelihood that G2 could have closed out the match given how dominant CT-sided Nuke is. But the story doesn't end there, as Vitality went on to win the Blast Paris Major, with Zywoo earning the major MVP, thus cementing him as one of Counter-Strike's GOATs, allowing him to be one of the select few that have won a major in both CSGO and CS2. Now, Vitality did go on to not lose a single match throughout the entire major, but given their previous struggles and with so much on the line, Zywoo's clutch being the catalyst for the day 1 win cannot be understated for how much it impacted their major run. Okay, I know I have an established set of rules that I've been following, and I've left out multiple clutches because they haven't fallen under the criteria I've set. But you know, we're getting close enough to the end of the video where I think I can break a rule and I won't really care if my viewer retention falls off. Look, 2024 didn't have any clutches I thought were that iconic in comparison to this moment, so we're gonna treat this a bit differently. See this desk? Wait, no, wrong desk. See this desk? This is a piece of Counter-Strike history. Why? Well, you see that little hole right there and this grinning Bosnian man pointing to it? Those two things tell quite the story. It's the 28th of September at the Blast Premier Fall Final 2024, and G2 find themselves facing off against Team Vitality in the semifinals. After trading wins on each other's map picks, like Adam22 trades his wife to well-endowed men, G2 and Vitality managed to take the series to a final 3rd map, Mirage. Throughout the first half of match 3, no team held a clear advantage, as the second half would begin with G2 holding a slight 7-5 lead, but after winning the pistol round and anti-eco, Vitality quickly tied the game, only to then take the lead after defeating G2 on their bye round. With momentum building in Vitality's favor, the next round only made matters worse for G2, as Vitality beat up on the homeless, leaving an economically struggling G2 with only Niko alive against 5 fully armored Vitality members. After failing to plant bomb this round, G2 seemed like they'd be subjected to Galil's and armor next round, giving Vitality the prime opportunity to take a 3-round lead and be one step closer to securing a trip to the finals with complete control over the match's momentum and economy. But no one knew that what was about to take place would be one of Counter-Strike's most iconic moments. Not because Niko won the round, but because of what unfolded in his defeat.
Fashion wave. 3 kills in the round for Zywoo before Niko. Bro, kind of getting warmed up, but he's very low on health here. He still gets one more headshot. One of the few players in the world that can win a round like this one. But Mezzy doesn't see it. He's not aware. Might get free kill. He gets the headshot. Sure yet, grenade. Nope, he's not up in the hallway either. Niko steps in.
After securing 4 improbable kills, Niko managed to get bomb down and position himself favorably for a post-plant B hold. And on what was inarguably the easiest kill in the entire clutch, a kill that any professional player could have made 99 times out of 100, and a kill that would have cemented this clutch in Counter-Strike history, Niko choked and whiffed his last kill on Apex. With countless emotions going through his mind, from nerves to disappointment to anger, Niko managed to keep his composure, smile through the pain, and continue leading G2 like nothing just occurred, which made this display of mental fortitude a legendary moment in Counter-Strike. Nah, I'm lying. He did as most of us do when we get angry while gaming, and slammed his desk as hard as he could.
What a maneuver, what a play. God damn, he hits that table hard.
Who can blame it?
Yo, okay! Collateral damage. The table's gone.
Filled with pure anger and passion, Niko's immediate reaction to this choke was rage, as he channeled his inner Chris Brown and beat his desk so hard that he not only made a hole in it, but required the only recorded medical pause in Counter-Strike history due to Niko's hand bleeding, and this moment blew up, with countless clips of Niko's desk slams circulating on Counter-Strike forums and post-match interviews highlighting the incident. Niko stated in a post-match interview that had he not smashed that table, he doesn't know if he would have been able to get back into the game, and get back into the game he did. Despite Niko losing G2 the round, he managed to get 4 kills and secure a bomb plant, which allowed G2 to win the following round as they could now full buy AKs, and every round mattered, as the match eventually went into overtime, ending 16-14 G2. Niko proceeded to drop 15 more kills after this 1v5 choke, ending Mirage with 29 kills and carrying his team to the finals, which they eventually won. In getting all of his frustration out on that poor desk, Niko created an iconic clip that showed what true passion for the game looks like, and he also showed you should probably never get into a fistfight with him. And as for the desk, it was given a battle-scarred wear rating and listed on CS Float as a tier 1 pattern. That's a lie, but given the state of the CS market, I really wouldn't be surprised if that was true. The desk actually was given away to a lucky viewer at Blast Bounty 2026 Season 1 though. Quick Donk Intermission. He had a 1v5 the year before and a 1v5 in 2025, but unfortunately, he's teammates with Helen Keller and Stephen Hawking, so Spirit lost both of those matches, and I couldn't use them given my criteria of the team needing to win the map. As you guys already know, a few years back, FaZe Clan was one of the greatest teams in Counter-Strike, but by late 2025, FaZe was a ghost of their former selves, and with some controversial roster changes, their new lineup was missing 2 of their key players, Rain and Ropz. Yet somehow, instead of getting a wife and kids, Unk was still here to play some CS while pushing 40. Okay, editor's note, Karrigan does actually have a wife and they look really cute and happy together, so I apologize. I wasn't familiar with your motion and I wish you guys a happy long marriage. Going into November, with the 2025 Star Ladder Budapest Major coming up, fans completely ruled out FaZe of any title contention, as they entered the tournament on poor form, ranked 13th in the world, and had to start in Stage 1 of the Swiss stages. After changing the CS format to allow 32 teams to participate at the previous Austin Major, not a single Stage 1 team advanced to playoffs, and only 3 teams even made it to Stage 3. And once Stage 1 began, FaZe fell to a 1-2 record and were on the brink of an embarrassingly early major elimination, with fans bullying FaZe like they were Lana Rhoades' kid at recess. And it really seemed like all of the hate was justified, as in their best of 3 elimination series against a 64th ranked team, Red Canids, FaZe lost map 1 and found themselves inches away from being sent home, down 12-10 on the T side of Nuke. FaZe managed to make it 12-11, and on the final round of regulation, FaZe took ramp, planted bomb B, and were in a favorable 2v4 post-plant. It really looked like they'd be able to take things into overtime, until everything fell apart and it was a 1v1. And in order to prevent the most humiliating defeat in FaZe's history, one man, one really, really old man, was put to the task: Karrigan.
Right here, right now, in the face of a smoke and a defuse kit, he's not positioned for the bomb! And as Karrigan swings wide, he'll stop it! FaZe Clan to overtime!
Woo! Look, this might be the lamest clutch in the video in terms of skill expression, but this clutch was so much more than Karrigan doing his best police officer impression and shooting a defenseless man. See, Karrigan was not positioned for bomb at all. He had to make the risky decision of completely exposing himself to peak history. and the timing of this peak was so insanely lucky that Karrigan got the kill with 0.04 seconds left on the defuse. That's literally 40 milliseconds. For perspective, a human blink is about 400 milliseconds, meaning if Karrigan was just 1/10 of a blink of an eye slower, FaZe would have been out of the major. However, the clutch itself is minuscule in comparison to what impact it had. FaZe won Nuke in a double overtime victory, then won Inferno to take the series. Their next series was also a victory, and FaZe narrowly escaped stage 1, with many doubters still having zero belief that FaZe would make it any further. But then they got out of stage 2. Then they made playoffs. Wait, now they somehow upset Mouse. What? 2025 FaZe are in the major grand final? Okay, now you're just lying. They beat Vitality? Okay, yeah, now I am lying. They did lose the finals 1-3. Regardless, FaZe making it to the major finals given the state of their team at the time will go down in history as one of the most incredible and unlikely major runs in esports history. What started off as a team entering the major with many doubters and lots of criticism soon turned into an underdog story that the entire CS scene was rooting for. Although they did not win the 2025 Budapest major, FaZe achieved far beyond what anyone thought was possible, and all of that came down to the difference of 1/25th of a second. Man, video structure doesn't even matter anymore. The whole team gets the clutch for this year. I don't care. Look, originally I had a joke written about how it was way too early in 2026 for me to pick a clutch because the reality was I was just lazy and wanted the video to end. But then Big Clan made a 0-12 comeback at the major. Now, don't expect too much. I am still going to be pretty lazy in my explanation here. This video is long enough, and I'm sure as I'm writing this script update, FaZe is already in works on a video titled, "This Comeback Should Not Have Been Possible." At stage 1 of the IEM Cologne 2026 major, congrats to the winners by the way, I'm definitely not finishing this video before the major ends. Big and Energy found themselves facing off in a best of 3 series that would send the winner to stage 2 while resulting in elimination for the losing side. After trading the first 2 maps, the entire series came down to the last map, Mirage, and what resulted was not a match of Counter-Strike, but a beautiful display of Taoist ideology. Inspired by the yin and yang, Energy and Big decided they wanted to represent the symbol of harmony with 2 perfectly balanced halves. The T side, or the yin, where no team won a single round during the entirety of regulation, and the CT side, or the yang, where both teams won all 12 of their rounds. Truly inspirational work, guys. Lao Tzu would be proud. That's right, after going down 12-0 on their T side and being 1 round away from major elimination, while 16 rounds away from stage 2, Big managed to actually come back and miraculously tie the game 12-12 on CT side.
Holy, I leave 1 round. Hopefully we can get it.
Oh boy, who's gonna tell them? The end of the match is pretty self-explanatory, as Big carried on their insane momentum and won the game 16-12 in overtime, thus winning 16 rounds in a row to prevent major elimination. Here's a price chart of a rug-pulled cryptocurrency to best demonstrate what Energy's mental state looked like throughout the match. Yeah, this time there's no inspirational story about how Big actually went on to win the finals, as they were eliminated in stage 2 of the major. So in the grand scheme of things, clutching this match was pretty useless, but I mean it was kind of cool. So instead of painting some picture of how this altered the course of the entire organization, I'll just give you some fun facts about the match before we part ways at the end of this video. This was the most watched stage 1 match with a peak viewership of 500,000 views. This was the first ever 0-12 comeback to occur at any Counter-Strike major. There have only been 3 previous major matches where a team won 16 rounds in a row, and they all occurred in CSGO where, 16 O's were possible. Only 1 T-side round was won the entire match, with that being the last round of the game. The bomb did not explode a single time. The only terrorists here were the NRG roster. Nitro has appeared in this video 4 separate times, all of which have had him on the losing side of the clutch. I wanted to make a joke about this, but the burden of this reality is probably already enough for him to deal with. Yeah, that's really all. I warned you guys I was going to be lazy, so any disappointment in the lack of analysis cannot be directed towards me.